A lengthy war between the US, Israel and Iran could be painful for the global economy and for your bank balance too. One of the world's busiest shipping lanes, the Strait of Hormuz, is part of the ongoing battle and really important to global markets. I'm going to bring in an expert in a moment, maybe to answer the question you might have already been asking about this conflict. What does it mean to the cost of your everyday life? Let's look at the Strait of Hormuz as we begin to look for the answer and look at the risks that ships face there right now. This is an oil tanker that was hit on Sunday just off the coast of Oman. It's not the only vessel that has come under fire either. Some of the world's biggest shipping companies are already avoiding the area altogether. Energy infrastructure in the Gulf has also come under fire. This is the Ras Tanura refinery in Saudi Arabia after it came under attack from Iranian drones. It has now been shut down, in turn affecting oil supplies. Qatar has also halted liquefied gas production as well. Now, with all of that in mind, we turn to Akin Oyedele, Deputy Editor at Business Insider, as we try to get a grip on what this means. Welcome to you, Akin. How big a problem do we have here?
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Well, we have a big problem. I mean, definitely from a human and humanitarian standpoint. But as you were alluding to, in terms of the economic and market impact, the pass-through really that people should watch out for is oil prices and subsequently gas prices, what people put into their cars. And of course, that could spiral because, everything that sort of moves in a transportation network flies also needs also sort of is benchmark to how expensive oil prices are. And today we did see oil today and yesterday, so Sunday into Monday and potentially into Tuesday, we have seen oil prices spike in the wake of this conflict. And some analysts are warning that if this goes on for 72 hours or longer, you could see oil hit $100 a barrel, which would be an important barrier that it breaks. So that really is what to watch.
So if we're trying to understand the sort of pressure, and you allude to this, the sort of pressure that might influence Donald Trump's decision-making, financial pressure, market pressure is famously a forefront of his mind. Do we have any historical precedents in this part of the world and how that a conflict like this can impact the price of oil?
We sure do. I mean, there's been talk of the 1970s oil crisis in the past couple hours and days because of what's happening at the time. And of course, there are some key differences to that crisis, but we did see the price of oil pretty much get out of control because of a conflict in the same region. And so when it comes to President Trump and his political choices, what could influence that? Or one of the things that could influence that is how affordable things are for the everyday American person. This is the president that, of course, has campaigned really hard on affordability and on making life cheaper and on bringing down inflation. And so that could be something that potentially moves the needle in terms of what he does geopolitically if we do see inflation start to creep higher again.
You allude to the oil crisis of the 1970s, which had a huge impact on the United States and its allies in the Western world. 50 years later, does oil still run the world, run the economy to much the same extent as it did?
It definitely runs the economy, literally speaking. We wouldn't be able to move in the equipment that we do without it, but definitely not to the extent that it did. And some important differences include the fact that the U.S. is is now pretty much the net exporter of oil, and so it's less reliant on external sources. Also, the sort of what's called the oil intensity in modern economies, which is how reliant economies are on oil put to essentially grow their GDP is a lot less than it used to be, and that's because economies have become more efficient. And so a supply shock could raise oil and cause some disruption, but it's probably an apples to oranges comparison to say that this is exactly like that, because some things are different, and we are not as reliant on oil as we were at the time.
Yeah, the cost of oil, fuel at the pump for motorists is a big thing. But how far out from oil prices do the shockwaves from an event like this usually spread as in terms of the cost of day-to-day life?
In terms of the costs of day-to-day life, it really depends on how much economic disruption there is. So, for example, if stock markets even begin to sniff out further economic disruption down the road, and we do see more selling in stocks, that can impact consumer confidence, because people, for example, who have a lot of their wealth stored in equity begin to feel less wealthy, and so they begin to pull back spending, which has a run-on effect on the economy, because the people aren't spending as much, then that can slow things down. So that really is one way that it could transmit outside of oil, is that if markets worry and continue to worry, and that what's called the wealth effect kicks in, where people feel less wealthy, and so they begin to make different choices in terms of consumption. Also, of course, travel disruption. So if, of course, right now the volatility is contained to one region, but if people feel like they should cancel some trips abroad, or if U.S. citizens feel like they should maybe stay put or what have you, then that also has an impact, because, of course, tourism is a big source of income for a lot of countries and then for a lot of people.
We talk about the extent to which Trump and the Americans are price and market sensitive. I guess we should consider Iran as well here. How bad was the economy in Iran, and how much worse can it get in the current circumstances?
So Iran entered this year with about 30% inflation, which is relatively high. So things could get a lot worse. Food inflation over there, for example, was in the 70% range. So that could really pinch a lot more than it does in a lot of other countries, of course, being the epicenter of this crisis. And then another thing to think about is the damage to its oil infrastructure. If strikes damage its capacity to produce or to produce oil in the future, then that also has an impact, because, of course, it's an economy that depends a lot on the revenues generated by the exports of oil. So those are two ways that things could really get worse in Iran's economy if this prolongs.
Great, Akin. Akin Oyedele, Deputy Editor at Business Insider. It's been really great to get a feel for where we are and what might be to come. Many thanks to you.
Thank you.
Right, that's us for now from DW Studios in Berlin. We are monitoring all of the comments that you make on our videos, and we really encourage you to join the conversation and have your say. Bye for now.